Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Donald Trump originally planned to give a speech yesterday. He canceled it. James Corden said, Trump canceling an appearance and listening to advice from other people? I'm worried about him. Colbert said, according to the New York Times' Maggie Haberman, the real reason that it was canceled was because it was becoming clear Trump wasn't going to get live TV coverage he was hoping for. Well, that makes sense. Upstaging solemn events rarely gets good ratings. That's why they had canceled Dick Clark's Pearl Harbor's Rockin' Eve. Too soon? Switching topics, Colbert said there's an update in the world of COVID. Everyone in the world has COVID. Fallon, the CDC announced that after you isolate for 5 days with COVID, you should take a rapid test if you have access to one. You can read more about that in this month's issue of Unhelpful Advice magazine. At this point, the CDC is like that annoying coworker who emails you every 5 minutes like, following up on this, just bumping this up, guys. And another update from the CDC, even Dr. Fauci is like, oh, I muted those months ago. Fallon has the best writers, man. Stephen Colbert will not return to his attic. He said, my dear friend Jimmy Kimmel is not on. They pushed back a week. They're not doing this week. Trevor Noah is not on for the next couple weeks. Seth Meyers is not on because my dear friend Seth has got the Rona. We wish him only the best. Conan evidently must have a terrible case of it because I don't know where he is. So here's the thing. I want you to know I love doing the show. It's a privilege to do this show. And if I do get it, I promise you I will not be doing my show. I will not, because I'm never going back into that storage closet where we did the show for 10 months. I can't do it. I got the PTSD from that little room up there. So the plan is to stay in the Ed Sullivan Theater and continue on without crew members and audience if it comes to it. Steven said, I hope you guys are all healthy, but if you guys can't show up, I'm still going to be here. I'm not leaving the Ed Sullivan. I will do the show with no makeup and a sweatsuit on a GoPro, but I'm never effing going back into that room on the 8th floor again. The Daily Show may be off, but boy, are they having fun. Around New York City yesterday, they erected monuments to former President Trump, Senator Ted Cruz, and other, quote, heroes of the freedom insurrection. 8 stone markers featuring plaques with the faces of Trump and other prominent GOP figures, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Josh Hawley, Rudy Giuliani, Tucker Carlson, and Steve Bannon, were placed around the city. These look like the Hall of Fame plaques you'd see at Cooperstown and the Baseball Hall of Fame. This one, Donald J. Trump, quote, they're not taking the White House. We're going to fight like hell. I'll tell you right now. Under that, it says, no hero played a bigger part in the freedom insurrection than President Trump himself. Though too humble to willingly release documents detailing the full scope of his efforts to stop the tyrannical will of the people, we do know he fought tirelessly to install turnover-friendly allies in the Justice Department and directed officials to, quote, just say the election was corrupt, unquote, and, quote, leave the rest to me, unquote. While his efforts were not enough to keep him in the White House, his bravery on January 6th will never be forgotten unless Republicans retake Congress and disband the committee investigating it. The Steve Bannon one has the quote, all I can say is strap in, it's game day. Under that it says, when Patriots stormed the Capitol steps, Bannon was right there leading the charge from the safety of his podcast studio. For days, Bannon instructed his listeners to come to D.C., where President Trump's second term is going to start with a bang, bragging about his meetings with Trump's war room. Bannon rallied the troops to fulfill their destinies as future FBI wanted posters. And when congressional investigators later asked what happened in those meetings, Bannon told them to stuff it, knowing that subpoenas, like election results, can always be ignored. Wow. Trevor Noah tweeted, best wishes to all, even the haters and losers, on this special date, January 6th. Speaking of Trevor Noah, he's going to have to wait a little longer to host the Grammys. They have been postponed, a statement said after careful consideration and analysis with city and state officials, health and safety experts, blah, blah, blah. The Recording Academy and CBS have postponed the 64th Annual Grammy Awards show, etc., etc. No date yet. From Chortle, apparently Jimmy Carr screwed up, felt bad, and he wrote a check. Jimmy Carr is the host of I Literally Just Told You. Contestants on that show are asked questions about what previously happened during the recording, but one player, Eddie McKenzie from Glasgow, was asked to give Ariana Grande's age, but could only guess at the answer as Carr had forgotten to give the information. 3 weeks later, Jimmy Carr handed over the money himself during one of his stand-up gigs. He invited Eddie McKenzie on stage to admit his blunder and said, we talked about her age, but we never gave you the specific information, so we messed up. And when you mess up in life, you've got to own your mistakes. Here's a check for £18,000. Nice job. The Daily Beast asked Jim Gaffigan, I saw you were with your family at Disney World. How'd you get roped into that? Jim said, yes, Disney. Well, It's part of the price of being a parent. You have to do these things. You know, there's something to through suffering comes art. So touring Disney and then doing shows, some material does come out, which is great. It also makes my kids so happy, and that's worth it, you know? They were wearing masks, but Jim said, having traveled around the country, everybody else is like, should I do this or that? And Florida's like, the barn's on fire. Head in there, kids. It's so funny. In our lifetime, Florida has transformed from a Florida man into this rebel destination. But everything we say about COVID changes by the week. This article could come out and there could be a new variant that kills everyone. And what I'm saying is incredibly insensitive. Switching topics, Jim talked about billionaires and said, I have friends that believe everybody that's wealthy is somehow a criminal, and I don't believe that. But if Trump didn't pay taxes, and I'm not saying Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos don't pay taxes, but I don't think they need $200 billion. I don't even think they should give their money to the government. I think they should give back and invest in charitable endeavors. It's like that Spider-Man movie they redo every 6 months. With great power comes great responsibility. It's also weird to see people push back on that and defend billionaires. Like there were people that were angry about that billionaires joke, and I'm like, what are you angry about? Are you a billionaire? I was looking at the stats, and I see one episode I did in December of 2020 has had a new life. That episode from December 28th, 2020 was titled, Adam Sandler Debuts a New Song, and of course, it's cringe. I did some further diving. It is really popular on a podcast platform called Geo7, which is mainly listened to in India. So shout out to the Indian listeners who also don't like Adam Sandler, or maybe you guys love Adam Sandler and you're mad at me for saying the song is cringe. But boy, that thing's getting like a 50 to 100 downloads every single day. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. I have a recommendation for everyone in the world, including those listeners in India. Andrew Slater's set on James Corden's show. I shared that on the Facebook group, which is Daily Comedy News Podcast Group. Very nice set there. We should keep an eye on Andrew Slater. I thought that set was strong and clean. A lot of money to be made in that combination of events. The Interrobang had their end of the year awards voted by their listeners. I will share the results in a second. I will remind you, my sense of the Interrobang readership, and I've mentioned this before, they tend to be more of the Comedy Cellar meets Austin, Texas kind of vibe. They're more into that edgy, in-your-face, brick wall, smoking a cigarette style of comedy. They're not coming with me to see Patton Oswalt and Brian Posehn at the Alt Show at midnight. You know what I mean? Their pick for Best Viral Video of 2021 went to Tim Dillon Interviews Capitol Rioter. Scandal of the Year, Dave Chappelle's Controversial New Special. Comedian of the Year, Nate Bargatze. Special of the Year, and I think this is a good example of what I was saying of what I think that readership likes, Shane Gillis, Live in Austin. Not saying the special's bad, I just didn't see it at the top of other lists, so it's an interesting pick there. Album of the Year, James Mattern's The Check Spots. You know where we haven't been for a while? Gossip Corner. Kim Kardashian and Pete Davidson were spotted in the Bahamas. Yeah, on a post-New Year's vacation. They were photographed enjoying a boat trip. Pete wearing a beige sweatshirt and matching beige shorts with a navy jacket and sunglasses. He completed his look with socks, sandals, and a Louis Vuitton backpack. Kim Kardashian opted for ripped black jeans, as one wears on the Bahamas, and a matching black top that featured a plunging neckline. I saw the pictures. Plunging is an understatement. She also wore black sunglasses and a fuzzy black clutch. Joe Coy has postponed his show tonight. He was going to play the Don Haskins Center. The replacement date is March 4th. This weekend on this podcast, tomorrow, part 2 of my look back at A Late Night with David Letterman. That show celebrates its 40th anniversary on February 1st. And Sunday will be another episode of Comedy Pub Quiz. Hope you enjoy both of those. Regular episode on Monday. Follow the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Good Pods, Pandora, Geo7 if you're in India. Wherever you get your shows. Have a great weekend. I'll see you then.